I'm Glen Southern. Let's make a creature. So done this tutorial quite a few times really, but it's always good to keep reiterating it. So we're in Gravity Sketch. This is the brand new version. So this one is just released yesterday, and I'll work through some changes. I won't list them, but as I come across them I'll tell you. So I'm in the menu. So remember, you've got your dominant and your non-dominant hand. So the blue button on your non-dominant hand, switch on mirror. We'll have a bit of that. We'll try a stage floor for the moment. So that will be like so. And the reason we put a stage floor is that we want something to anchor some feet to. We will check layers, but it doesn't matter for now. So we're on layer 1, and this is going to be our sketch layer. So let's just name it, clear it, sketch. And the process that I use all the time is I will sketch out what I want, and then I'll make that semi-transparent, and then I will use that as just my guide. So it's basically my reference material really. So I'll keep pushing it out there so that you can really see. Just want to get it in the middle of the screen for you. Okay, so from a sketch point of view, I'm going to do I think we decided we wanted to do some kind of a mech. So I'm doing a lot of jobs at the moment that are related to insects and arachnids, so spiders. So I'm going to keep it on that theme. Done lots and lots of these this year. Basically because we've done a few Netflix shows where we've had to make these kind of things, and we've done quite a few projects that have needed this kind of design. So mechanical, science fiction-ish, but based in some form of creature. So I've just blocked out a body really quickly. I'm going to keep it along the lines of a body plan of I suppose of a spider, but it's not really. So it's got to have 8 legs. So we're going to have up here, we're going to have some pretty heavy duty mandibles coming around here. Then we'll have the first limb here, which will be a cross between a spider's leg and a human's limb. So it's not going to be an anatomy. It's not going to be very readable human anatomy. It basically needs 8 legs. So we've got 4 at the bottom, we know that, so they come out here like so. And then the last one would be out here. That's brilliant. And then it would have another leg here, so that would come out like this. We'll put that as almost like I suppose it's like a what do you call it, a centaur, but for some sort of arachnid centaur. So might put a bit of weaponry on this as well, because I'm doing two tutorials of this nature, and the second one is a sci-fi weapon. So what we'll do is we'll make a weapon that's suitable for this creature. So maybe make shoulder cannons or something like that, something that's relevant to this design. Okay, so we've got a sketch roughed out that I quite like. I don't normally go much more detail than that, so I could literally go really crazy and start thinking about putting much more of the things that I want on it, but I just don't want to at this point. It's just easier to work from this sort of rough design, and we'll keep it all grouped when we get it into Maya or Cinema, whichever we choose to do for the render for this one. So that's the first stage that you do. Back to the blue button, and then you can make that, as you see, you make that almost transparent, and then we'll make a new layer. So increase it, and we'll lock the first layer, and we'll name the second layer block out. Now what I do is I do another temporary layer, and I use a tool called, let's find it, this one, volume tool. And this basically just gives you volume like so. And I like to do a second one just to confirm what I've already done, which is that I like to think to myself, right, if the design's working in the sketch form, can we prove that it would work in a volume form? So this isn't going to be the model. This again is just a block out. So eye. It's looking quite humanoid there. I don't like that. I'm going to move that there. These are called, on a spider, these are called well, I think it's called chelicera or silicia. I can't remember the exact word, but that's where these things go, the fangs, and these come forward like this. So I think they're quite important to get them in, as well as these monstrous things. If you want to group a few things, pull them together, hit the purple button there and they're grouped, so you can bring them, for example. So that's quite useful. So we could put them there and we could group that head now, like so. There we go. So we can move that around as we want. So as well as the layering system, that's quite useful. So let's bring this around here. This is the volume of the body. So this would be some form of carapace, and then what they call the sternum. This is the carapace, sorry, the back. So yeah, that's working quite well. And it's mechanical, don't forget, so I'm going to be putting lots of bolts and nuts and whatever I feel. I do like that volume tool. It does give me it's not a sculpting tool in the same way that Oculus Medium is, because it's not voxels. It's giving me a NURBS based shape, but I do get what I want out of it quite often. What you can do is you can set it onto a single plane, which we will do later. We won't do it now because I just want to block out these forms quite quickly. There we go. And again, remember, you can, well, it went too far then. I'm just selecting which bits to group. So that gives me now an arm that I can play with. Now, I'm actually on a Lenovo machine here with an RTX graphics card. For those of you that are a bit geeky, this is new to me. This system is new and I'm testing it quite extensively. I love it. I absolutely adore it. I'm only a couple of weeks into using it, and for my VR work and for my ZBrush work and for augmented reality work, pretty much every work that involves a graphics card, I've seen a very, very improved performance. The RTXs are not a card I know anything about. I'm so used to using GTX cards, GeForce 1080s, 2080s. So this is quite interesting to be able to test this card out. And went under the ground then. And I have to say, I'm not unhappy at all at the moment with the performance I'm getting from it. So I'm going to be testing out the RTX 4000 graphics card, but this is a workstation that I'm on rather than a laptop. And again, it's working quite well. Now, because that limb there worked so well, I can just repeat it. I wouldn't need to spend the time. There you go, see, blocked it out quite, in fact it worked perfectly. What we will do is we'll do these differently. So we won't repeat these here, we'll do these as a separate build. I'm trying to get the anatomy very realistic if I can. And we'll improve that once we get to it. The great thing about this is, I say once we get to it, it already looks good. From my point of view, as someone trying to design this, you see why we put the floor on now, because at this point we basically really want to be making sure that this thing is pinned to the floor on all of the limbs. I might even use some of this geometry in the final one, simply because it does look quite well, it's very organic actually. It's almost like a Zerg from StarCraft, isn't it, in terms of the shape. It will look really nice when it's got some weaponry on it. What we will do is just move these out of the way, and the reason I've done that is I just want to group all of this stuff. Nearly there. I'm using undo with the red button on the dominant hand, so this button here right in front of you. Now, I haven't done any colour change or anything like that yet because none of these parts were going to be used. But what I will do now is, because I'm feeling that that's in a good place, let's just do a little turn around with it right in front of you. I'm liking that all over, so that's good. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's got 8 legs and 2 mandibles, which are these things here. Let's just get in a bit closer. These massive things here. And then I think what we need to do is break that apart and make this massive. And that'll give it much more of a threat. Yeah, I like that. That's better. That's made it a bit more threatening. And maybe we break these apart and make these like this. And then join them up again. Yeah, that's it. That's lovely. Now what we probably need to do is draw a bit more of the head. I'll do the eyes separately with spheres, but they'll do for now. So I'm just grouping, all I'm doing is grouping everyone there. So that's fine. It's given us everything that we want. I'll just ungroup these again because that knee had gone out of position. Or joint gone out of position. So remember how I'm doing that. So I'm taking the piece. To ungroup it, it's this purple button, and there they're all. Oh, whoops. No, there you go. Ungrouped it, and then increase. Push my thumbstick on my dominant hand, and then purple one again, and that groups it again. That gives you. There we go. Now what I will do, because some of that I'm definitely going to use, I've decided now, is I'm going to change the colours of a lot of these. So I'm going to keep it greys, but I'm going to go darker grey on that one. I'm going to go purpley one on this one. Why am I doing that? Because, let's just pick every single one that has a different material is then a different selection set in the program that you go to. So if you do this, in fact, no, we didn't group that, did we? So all of these different colors, all it means is that when I take this to my other program, that becomes something I can select quite easily. There we go, we've got everything there now. So that would be a selection set. This would be a selection set. Again, it's irrelevant while we're in Gravity Sketch, but what it really does mean is that, you know, we can break it down easily in the other programs. There we go. Bring that down here. That head's not as menacing as I wanted it to be, so I might change that when I do the final. Bring those first arms and the more aggressive ones. There we go. So that's the blockout done now. So with the blockout phase done, we can now start working up some of the actual body mechanics. So I could at this point make that semi-transparent, but I'm going to leave it for a moment. What I will do is, just to make it clear, I'm going to completely make the sketch layer transparent. I could do this and make this a bit transparent, but I think what we'll do is as I just said, we'll leave it, and then as I replace a piece, I'll delete it out, or I won't. We'll see as we go. So let's do, what should we do next? So let's do the limbs next, I think, because these could be quite quick. So again, I want them mechanical, so I'm going to make parts that we can reuse over and over again. So I'm going to pick a colour. Let's pick, let's get the basic material, and we'll go for a grey, a light grey. This is, there you go. This would be, we don't need a floor now, by the way. So back to settings, we can turn the stage floor off. So you've got it floating in the air now, but it doesn't matter because that's, you know, we know where the feet are, and we can move them again later if needed. So let's just make some pieces bit by bit. So I'll make some mechanical pieces first. So let's go to, no, we won't do that. We'll do a revolve tool, and we'll make these are going to be, so this is the revolve tool. If you half depress the trigger on your non-dominant hand, you can move where you want the center line to be. So I've snapped it. You can move it around. If you get vertical, it'll snap. If you get horizontal, with a half press, it will snap. So this is where we'll go. I'll do this a lot. Make a lot of these components like this. So we'll do point mode, keep it on high poly, and that's all we need. So let's make a couple. So one. So each press gives me points. So and that gives you a hard turn. So if you don't do that, what you'll get is like a rounded turn. So that's one. Two. I'm making these for all sorts of different reasons. We can use these in the creature for loads of parts and components. If you do need to edit it after, so for example, if I went back to that one and hit the blue button, I can adjust it like so. So it's still very editable afterwards at this point. But that will probably do now. We'll do one the other way. Oops. This is more like a wheel hub, this one. Okay, and as I said, it's all the same material. So what that basically means is that when we go out of this program and we go into, like, you know, the more the render side of things, then it means we've got basically we can just group these and put, say for example, we could put what could we put? We could put chrome on here, or we could put brass on here or something like that. So having a good look round. So let's just do one limb now. So we'll use some, in fact we'll do what we've just done again, but with a darker grey. I'll switch it back on because what I want is some pipe work. I should have done it while it was on, I never thought about it. So these will be the framework of the limbs, and we'll group these together. So these kind of things will make up the core of the limbs. I'll do another one. You'll see what I mean in a moment. If any of this doesn't make sense, I'll be doing a tutorial in 3D World magazine for explaining some of the concepts that I'm using here. So that's another one. I think that will probably do it now. We can probably get what we need from that. So we'll start making this limb here. So we can move it in a little bit so we can make a duplicate of it. So this will be the start of it, and I'm going to do it a little bit further out so I've got it's not going to impact what I'm doing. What I was meaning is I don't want to be working inside it there. So let's put some joints on it here, and then we'll put a couple of these plates in it. Notice I'm leaving everything behind, so I could just grab it again. So I'm just making this up. It's all concept. It's not, I'm not trying to make this mechanically accurate in any way. It's just me using these pieces in a way that looks appealing. Put like that below there. We'll have another one of those which joins to that one, and then we'll reuse that assembly on the top of that. And what I've found with this kind of stuff, because it is concept, is just the more visual interest you put in, the better it will be. I'm going to use this one, but I'm going to change it to that grey because I want this one here, and I'm going to alter it a tiny bit now. You'll see what I mean in a second. So I'm just going to pull it out, and that's where that is so useful. Okay. Repeat it again. Remember where the floor is. But we don't want that one on the end. We're gonna do something very different on the end there. But what we might want to do is use this here and then bring that out like that. So that gives us almost like a JCB kind of piston effect. And we'll do the same with this one, but we'll just change this material as well to something else. And remember, that's why it's so useful to be able to move it around. That's that one done. We need, just to make sure that goes in there, we need this one. Okay, that's that one good. Just adding more and more interest. And now I want to go back and I want to add this volume tool again, but this time I want to put planar on. And what that means is now I've got a plane to draw onto. So I'll make sure I'm on the grey, or a grey. Yeah, and one last thing I didn't set on is I want point mode again. So I want to do the spike of the end of the foot. So this is going to be a really thin spike, not like that. We can leave that piece actually, it might be quite useful. You'll see what I mean in a moment, because this makes us a plate of geometry. You can probably see on the video how far I'm stretching, so it's in VR space, I'm going miles out of my way. There we go. And now when that's reduced, you can see what I mean. We have quite a mechanical looking. Let's take this piece. A mechanical looking piece, but it is actually a spike, and it has a bit of that insecty look. And we'll put lots of these in there. Not an insect, is it? It's an arachnid. So I got that wrong, didn't I? Just put some small pieces in. And again, because it's the same white material, this is going to be just literally one material will be applied to this. So you can make this look really cool with very little work. Cool. And we'll use that everywhere. That will be a very generic piece. I'll put that in the middle, that piece that I made by mistake. I'll put that one in there. I'll just add a bit more to it. Oh, we left one behind. There you go, all added in. And now that, we'll put it there, but that is definitely a piece we want to use over and over again. So we're going to use a ton of repeats on this thing. Let's just group everything now. There we go, so that's now one leg piece. So that's really super useful now, because that's the generic leg that we will use. So I'm going to put that entire leg, I'm going to pop that over to my side as well. Now this one, I'm going to put some, my favourite thing to do is I'm going to put pipes in. I always seem to use black pipes. And this is almost as if it is a JCB now. And you'll see this in tons of my work. It's very, very normal for me to do this sort of stuff. I just love that electrical, you know, the pipe work kind of cabling or whatever it is. Again, it's only concepting, so I can make up whatever I want here. I can use it to hide things, or I can use it to accentuate things. There we go. So let's just now group that. And that's great. I'm quite happy with that. So we'll put that in there as the first one. I'm going to take this one out, and we don't actually need this now, so that's gone. I'm going to take this one, and I am going to use, because it's mechanically sound, I'm going to take this one, delete it, and that's replaced with this one. So that's now done, and that worked really well. Again, we could just basically just use this and then amend it everywhere we go. So there's one. Might not be a bad idea to put the floor back on for this bit, because you'll see what I mean in a moment. Let's move all these parts out of the way. I'll actually put them up in the air for now. That means I can grab them from up in the air. But we've gone well off the track with the floor now. See what I mean? So I'm just making sure that foot is hitting the floor. There we go. So that will do us for the first stage. I'm going to pause the video at this point and save the model so that I can give you this model to work with. But that's the first stage done and dusted. Now we'll move on to the body and the head. Okay, so the next part then, we'll just move all of these components out of the way. We don't need the floor now. So I'll go back to settings, take the floor off. And what we're going to do is make some of the, something like the head next. So that was a mirrored object like so. So we'll do that again. We'll make something very similar to that. So first of all, we'll make the head, the main construction of the head, and we'll use subdivision models for this. So let's have a look. We want subdivision models, and we'll make just a normal cube. Makes a large cube. The mirror plane gone. Yep, so we need make sure mirror. I turned it off, hadn't I, by mistake? Call that same object, but let's make them another colour because we want to use another specific colour. Okay, so you've got an object like so, and this is now a subdivision object, so this is very different than what we've dealt with in the past, which is all of the NURBS ones. So this, if you click the blue button, that now gives you the ability to edit faces, so I can click with the grip and pull along with my dominant hand, and that lets me move the face, or just the edge, or just the vertex or the point, or the edge. So you can move anything that you want. And it's also subdividable now, so I could turn it on and it would round it like so, which we don't want to do. So we want to put some splits in it first of all, which would make it a rounded box. So you just simply click wherever you want them, and you can see the tighter in I get, the tighter the edge of the edge curve will be. And you'll see what I mean right now. So I've put those 4 in, and we subdivide it again, and there you go. It's quite a tight box there. And that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted it to look like, just basically just to feel like it's a little bit rounded without it getting too much. We didn't want it to turn into a ball. And then we'll pull. I'm using my thumbstick to increase or decrease the. Let's just put an angle in it to increase the size of the area of effect. So that's up and down. So I don't like that bit, so I'm going to leave it like that. So that's all I need to do to basically make. Let's undo them. Make these parts here, so we can delete those now, and that will be the fangs basically from there. And we'll do. Remember, we wanted really sharp fangs, so I'll make them in the same way, but I'll just use a sphere. I'll choose another colour, yet another colour, and then just make sure that it's a subdivision object, and we'll pull it down So if we pulled one down, it would give us a spike. That's not what we want. We want something better than that. So what we want is an area of effect. So basically be off the model, hold the inner trigger, and you see as I push up and down with the thumbstick I get that smaller ball in the middle. Let me show you again. So see the inner sphere there? That gives me an area of effect. So now watch. So that allows me to move that single point, but it drags other ones with me based on an area of effect. And this is how you get quite an organic flow going. You can see there that it's pulling with a fall off as well. If you want to tighten and smooth, now just pull down with a thumbstick. There's two ways of doing that. I'll show you another one later on, but that's pretty much how you would do it. And these fangs now, they're very high polygon, so you wouldn't want to do that for everything. But that would give us, because it's only a tiny thing there. And actually I didn't want white, thinking about it. I wanted it to be black and shiny. So there you go. That's given me exactly what I was after. And that looks good straight away. So we need a head, a piece that emulates this sort of stuff here. So I'm going to make this in a similar way, but we're going to snap it over the center seam. So I want it to be sub D. Let's just put the cube here. It's giving me an option for size there, which we don't want to do. Okay, make it smaller. Give it another. Again, I'm choosing different materials all the time here because I want to be able to have them separate in the other program. Let's make it a blue. And we'll use blue for anything that's a body panel. So we know now that anything that I use this blue for is going to be for the body panel now. Let's just click the blue button and you can see that that's a subdivision object. Bring it to the center and it snaps. So there you go. You've got a snapped object, and that means it's snapped over the seam, so we can now work with that with a center seam, which is perfect for what we're about to do. Just delete some of these because we don't need them now. So we'll bring the bottom down, get down a bit more, and the back out. We're going to extrude out from the back in a moment, but what we'll do is we'll extend it out first. Got to make, basically what we're trying to do now is make an interesting rounded sort of, well, this is the head, isn't it? So this is one of the most intricate parts of the model. So I'm going to bring it all out all the way like so. Put a split in there. We left a few things behind, so no, I didn't. I took that one. I shouldn't have done. What you're looking for here is edge flow. So these edges need to flow around where we want. And then if I have left anything behind like so, we can just bring it out. I'm underneath now, so that wasn't the best place to be. Let's just make the back a bit more interesting and smaller. So we'll tighten that down a little bit. Now we can. You see, I'm just deleting these parts. We just don't need them now. What we're going to do is replace them with something much better. So let's bring these down, these down. You can see now it's starting to look much more interesting. I'm just going to do hold over all those areas, hold over that entire area, and then what you're getting then is a tightening effect. And you can see that's rounded it quite nicely. Put a few more splits in. Don't need much more detail in this because we're going to add things onto it. And just make sure I haven't drifted too far. Now what you can do is you can extrude out from this, and this will make the model really interesting. So we can say take these four here, there are these two here. Oh, let's take this one and fact, we'll just do this one for the time being. Bring it around here. That gives us a bit of a lift on the back. Put some splits around there to what we call protect the loops. That looks great. I'm just going to tighten, relax these down a bit here. That's cool. Well, I'm happy with that as it stands at the moment. What I will do is I'll put it in situ now. It's in here, wasn't it? We'll delete all of these things, and we'll bring these as a group in. That's great. And the mandibles are going to be there. So we can actually use exactly what we did before. We can use these as repeats, but we'll ungroup them and then we'll rescale certain parts of them like so. Let's just get that right. So we've ungrouped it, bring all of the components across, scale up the bits that we want. And we actually don't want that bit there. We're going to put that there. We will duplicate this bit and then put that underneath like so. We'll add a bit more detail on that in a moment. And group that again. So it didn't take much to make. Oh no, we've grouped it by mistake there. We grouped everything, which we didn't mean. That's wasn't watching what I was doing there. So we ended up grouping far too much. There we go. That's better. Delete this out, and we'll put that in there like so. So that works really well. So let's get some more of these. Let's get it and have a look at it from a distance. Yeah, I'm liking that. That could go the old ones. Let's put some more mechanical detail in here. I suppose this is the equivalent of greeble. This is where we're just putting in things. These things are here only to make it look interesting. They're not for any mechanical reason. When you look at these things from different angles, they could look good, or they could look bad. So that's why we're putting in lots of visual interest in these other areas. We need some spheres now because we need some eyes in this thing. So to do that, we just literally need spheres. So we don't even need sub D. So we'll just use. Oh no, we don't want cubes, do we? That's it, we just want a sphere. And we'll just pick the same as we got for the teeth because we just want a black. That's perfect. So we want 2 at the front, 2 as you come around the side, and then we'll put 2 at the back there up inside the turret. There we go. So he's got 8 eyes. And we might put some, let me just make some, so go back to the volume, we'll make some nice mechanical pieces with a metal. We'll do some what we call like railings. You'll see what I mean in a moment. It's like you get on the top of a tank, like the handrails and things like that. They always look good. As you can see, it just looks like a bit more mechanical. Yeah, I'm liking that. So that's quite okay with that. So now we need, where are we now? We just need next a body. So I'm quite comfortable just to remove that body to there. and we'll put in another cube, sub-D cube. No. Just delete that one, I just put the wrong one in. So cube, 2 hands, which means I can pull it out. There you go. Now with this cube, I want no divisions whatsoever, so just slide it. I don't mind one at the bottom like that. And then I obviously need the blue. And we'll bring it close together. And then it snaps for us. So now we've only got one polygon face to play with, and that just makes it a lot easier to handle for this intricate bit. So let's bring him around here. Use the edges a bit more this time. I'm just thinking about the body shape now. So I'm going to remove the floor again. Remember what we did right at the start. So let's go in and turn that stage floor off. There we go. It feels a lot better. And that means I can get underneath it a little bit easier. So I'm underneath now. This is the spine. And right down to the bottom, that will be fine. And we'll put some splits in so that we can arch the back a little bit. And splits there. That's great. We'll bring that forward. That's going to be where the neck is. We'll leave that chest area there. Now let's subdivide it. And now we can see how we can move it with it being already subdivided like so. And that means I can do some interesting work here in the belly area. Because I'm seeing it subdivided now, I'm seeing what it will look like when it's finished. So you're actually working with subdivision on now at this point. This is quite an interesting way of working. I used to work like this years ago. There we go. And now we'll do some, let's put a little bit of detail up here. So we want a few I wouldn't call them spinal. I call them spine anything because they don't have a spine on them, these kind of creatures. So it just gives us some visual interest from the back, really, is all I was interested in. I'm going to do this where I've made a line there and I'm going to tuck it under. Just gives us a little bit of a bit more of a crease here. There you go. So it looks like there's a bit more detail there. And then we'll bring this out a bit around the arm. We'll put more detail in here, I think. Because it needs these bits here where the arms join the body. We need almost like some more visual, almost like suspension maybe, or I don't know what we would call it, some kind of struts like that. And then we'll add in a bit more in terms of wheels and details like this. So again, it's very concepty, so we're just doing things that look cool rather than, you know, the things that are accurate. need that, so I'm just cleaning up now. All these parts together, just in case I use them for anything. I'll just group them for now, so we've got them. Almost like spark plugs. That's cool. Now I'm going to leave I quite like the abdomen made in that material there, so not the material, sorry, that type of the nerves rather than the polygons. So I'm going to leave that, but I'm going to add in some nice detail to it. So I'm going to draw a few more mechanical bits like I did for the grid on the head. Again, it's easier sometimes just to let me do it and then show you. So these are railings that will go on the back here. And I was thinking of making like a radial, almost like some kind of a radiator affair. So it's you know, it's kind of like a heat dissipation of some kind, something like that. Do it again here. And 2 more there. That's great. So it's that back end now it looks like it's got something a bit more interesting, and we definitely want to group all of that. Wasn't working then, so that's fine. And now we want to add, as always, the pipes that will be linking this bit to this bit. I always think these, again I say this every time, but I always think that these are essential for when you're doing robotic things like this. I think it really adds to the sci-fi look, and we'll definitely want a few big ones under here. And you can see that that's adding some kind of, you know, visual interest, but you know, in between and around all of the components. So that's always one that I use. And then last one is, how does the head attach? Well, we had no way of it attaching before, so now we do. Cool, so we've probably got enough now to be going on with. So what I'll do now is I will save that. I'll take some photographs inside VR, and then that'll be the start of what we go with. One thing that I do, I'll save it first, but then I'll separate the arms out like this, so it makes it easier for me to group it in another program. So I'll save it first, I'll do that now. It's worth just saving it. In several versions really. So we've saved that one, and now we'll bring these arms out just exactly in the direction that they're to be put back. think if you remember, we've got these as a separate as well. And what that means is we can easily separate that when I'm in the other program. So the other program in this case is going to be Cinema 4D. So I should be able to group it quite easily now with that. I never liked that bit, so I'm going to remove that. So we'll save that now. Save. And we'll call it, go back one, call it 4 space split. And there we go.